Let's finish it Friday. I'm stitching it my way. Just wanna be sitting with needles and knitting. Hello, hello, and welcome to my creative castle. That's right, I am recording this video for Finish It Friday. So get your beverage, get your project, and come on in, say hello in the comment section, and let me know what you're working on. And of course, feel free to let me know what your latest FO finished object is. Alrighty, well, guess what? Yeah, that project that I was thinking, starting to second guess myself, the granita tank top is off the needles. You see me working on it. Yeah, it's in fingering weight yarn. I love fingering weight yarn, but then after I work on those projects and take them out, I'm like, what was I thinking? These projects take forever, right? Yeah. So the granita tank top is knit in knitpicks. We crochet comfy fingering. That is a 75% Pima cotton and 25% acrylic machine washable yarn. It is a very soft yarn. I really like the feel of it, and fingering makes it super light and airy for the summertime. So it is a nice choice of a yarn. I'll be honest with you. If you have the patience to deal with, the time that it takes to work with fingering weight yarn, which I'm not even employed, and sometimes I think, do I have the patience for it? Well, I like the results, right? I do like the finished object, the finished results, but they do take time and patience. So it's probably not a quick knit for a lot of people, but this is it, right? This is my finished object. It is off the needles. Now I chose to do mine in the color blackberry, which, if you're colorblind like me, that is a very, very deep dark purple, almost like a black. Yeah. And if you're new to my channel, hi, my name's May. I love yarn. I love to knit and crochet. Those are my hobbies. And I also happen to have been born visually impaired, legally blind, completely colorblind. And so I do try to describe things for other people who also might be colorblind or visually impaired out there. Okay, so let's talk about the top. Now, this is a paid for pattern, right? So we don't want to give away all the secrets because somebody worked very hard to design this, to do the math, right? That's the hardest thing with designing, and then designing with multiple sizes. The math, for real. And I like numbers, but it's challenging. So this pattern is $5.99. Let's talk about some of the good things, some of the real pluses. I mean, it's a good pattern. It definitely is. If you like to do light summer airy tank tops and fingering weight yarn, it's a good pattern. But this pattern has 10 sizes, okay? So definitely it is a nice range. She did a lot of math on that to work this out. Now, I made the smallest size for me, okay? I think it's probably usually referred to as like X small or size 1 or whatever. So I made the smallest size. Now, I am going to go ahead and talk to you about some of the modifications, some of the things that I did even within that X small size, okay? But I do like that, if I'm about 5'4.5", 120 pounds-ish, somewhere in there, so if you're quite a bit smaller than me, you might be a little bit frustrated that there's not a size for you. However, if you like your top super drapey and airy, you might be okay with the X small. I don't mind it being loose, right? I don't mind it being airy and drapey. I don't want it super tight in the summertime, but I don't want it like super sloppy, baggy looking. That's just not my look most of the time in the summertime. So there is that. What I did, but it's definitely, I would still, with 10 sizes, I would definitely consider it size inclusive. Okay, I just would. I'd say, yeah, if you're on the tiny, tiny petite size, might not include you, but I would say for anybody my size and larger, I would say this is size inclusive. So that's nice. That's one of the reasons I'm super hesitant to even try to sell my patterns. I can't do the math for all the sizes, right? So the other really, really nice thing for somebody like myself who's visually impaired is that the lace on this, it's charted, right? So it's a visual graphic for sighted people. And she also wrote it out row by row. So that's really, really nice. For somebody like myself who's visually impaired, right? If you're visually impaired and you struggle to see the graphics and charts for patterns, then it's definitely written out for you. It's easy to understand. It is written in, the sort of shorthand form that knitting and crochet patterns are written out in. So you have to know those symbols, right? What they stand for. Right, you have to know like what SSK is, and you have to know what that sounds like with your screen reader if you're visually impaired. But overall, I can say that I would call this it's an intermediate pattern. But if you're new to garments, and you're also kind of new to lace work and you find lace work intimidating, I can say this would be a great pattern for you to start with. It's knit from the bottom up in the round. It's seamless pretty much except for the straps at the top. It's got this nice little A-line shape. So you start at the bottom, you work in the round all the way up. You do some decreases every so often, right, to get your A-line shape. You start decreasing on each side until you get to the underarms or the lace portion. And then you bind off under the armpits, you bind off, and then you can start working your front and then your back separately, okay, to the top. So let's talk about this. Now, she also says you need a size 3 and a size 4 needle. And she really only uses the size 3 for the very bottom. At the very bottom, we've got some ribbing here for, about an inch or so. And she wants you to use the size 3 needle for just that and then bump up the whole top to a size 4 needle. Now for me, I didn't want my top. I already knew that the X small, the smallest size, was going to be plenty big enough for me. Okay, I did. And I didn't want the size 4 needle. I knew would make it even looser, right? It would definitely make your top very even airier. And if you want that, then maybe do that. But I didn't want mine any looser than it was. And so I left my needles on the size 3 needles. And so I've got a slightly smaller top. I've got, a denser fabric than probably what she intended, right? That's what we got for a fabric. It's, to my opinion, it's still very loose and, open work, very comfortable, breezy for the summertime. So I like that. Now, when we got to the separating, right, for the lace section, for the top where you separate the front and the back, that is where I went ahead and bumped up my needle to a size 4. And that's what she says to do the whole body in, is a size 4. And I did that for a couple of reasons. One, at that point, I definitely wanted the lace on mine nice and loose and airy. And also, in places, I might be the smallest size, the X small. But on other places on my body, I'm definitely not an X small, okay? I got kind of broad shoulders for a woman of my size. I got, I'm not like super busty, but, I'm probably average, right? 36C, we'll just say it. 36C, okay? Probably in the average range up on top. But I would also say that's not X small, right? So I just felt like that's the thing about knitting patterns. What I want to talk to you about how I modified it from here, is that I love that I can design my own work, my own clothing, because I can make it to fit me. And that's one of the reasons I'm super hesitant to do my own patterns and put them out there for people, because I really feel like a lot of people struggle with how do I modify it, and then they get mad and they get frustrated because it's not including them. And I understand if you're new to the craft, you're like, I don't get it, right? How do I make it fit me? Okay. So for me, I have enough experience that it wasn't hard for me to say, keep it at a size 3 at the bottom part, bump your needle up to a size 4 because you're, a little bustier, a little bigger on top. Like, I tell people, I'm like, I'm half Chinese, and it's not the top half, okay? Yeah, that's the Scandinavian side, I guess. So, anyways, so it's lacy and it's airy on top, but I was looking at the way, and I've got kind of big arms, and so I spent years and years and years of my life lifting weights in the gym, like not just like a like really really lifting. I would spend 6-7 days a week in the gym working out, and so for quite a while I really did work my shoulders, work my arms, work my triceps, all of that. And so even though I haven't been lifting weights in years, like over a decade, I haven't really been serious. I pick up my dumbbells now and then, but I'm not. But they're like 5-pounders, 8-pounders in the house. I'm not doing serious lifting like I was in the gym anymore. But nonetheless, even though my arms have gotten smaller than they were, right? I don't have the muscle that I had, 15 years ago. That's gone. But my arms and my shoulders are still fairly big. So I just felt like I was going to need a little more room for the armholes, a little more room up on top. So when it came time to do the lace pattern repeats vertically, I didn't add any stitches horizontally. I didn't do that. I just did the bind offs for the arm. But when it came to the top part, I went up to the size medium, right? The third size, where you were going to do another pattern repeat of the lace on top. And that's what I did. So for the front half, I went ahead and added a full pattern repeat of the lace. And then when it came to the back, I didn't do as much lace on the back. I just didn't. And because I'm also a 47-year-old woman, okay? 47. And guess what? Yeah, the premenopause is definitely hitting, the hot flashes, the hormones, all that's hitting. Yeah, and so I don't want always, I get like hot flashes and man, ooh, it's uncomfortable. I'm like, I want this super airy and loose. So I didn't even make the back. She had the front and the back pretty much even, for the lace. And you can tell on mine, I went and did mine, not as high up on the back because I just wanted less fabric on my back. Some days I just want less fabric on the back, okay? So, but of course that meant when it came to doing the straps, because I wanted the center, right, of my strap to still be at the top of my shoulder, I had to remind myself when I was doing the straps that, hey, I'm making a modification here. You're not following the directions anymore, right? You're off the paved road, May, as usual when I'm working a pattern. I'm off the paved road. I'm doing my own thing. So, so that meant I just had to add that extra pattern repeat on the straps so that the seam of the strap was still at the top of my shoulders. So we got that going on. And then another thing is that she wanted us to graft the shoulder seams, right? You work each to the top of the shoulder, front and back, and she wanted us to graft the shoulder seams. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm terrible at grafting. Have I tried it? Yeah, I've tried it. But I'm terrible at it. I struggle with it. I can't remember into the stitch there, where, knit-wise, purl-wise, what is confusing. And we know that I'm fairly good at 3-needle bind-off as long as I remember to bump up my needle size, right? So I was still on the number 4 needles for the top part of the top, the lace section. So for the very first stitch, because those first stitches can be tight, I just went up to a number 5. And this is what mine looked like if you want to see how my 3-needle bind-off turned out. So I went up to just a number 5 for like that first stitch because it can be tight to work into. After that, I went all the way up to a number 7 or a 4.5 millimeter, right? The tank top was on a US number 4, which would be a 3.5 millimeter needle. I went all the way up to a 7 after the first stitch to a 4.5 to ensure that my 3 needle bind off was not too tight, that it was loose, and that it wasn't bunchy. So that's my personal method. When things call for grafting, I usually do 3 needle bind off. I struggle with grafting. And then the other modification that I did, again, because I'm really trying to explore and play with options for bind offs, because right, my bind offs are tight. So when you're doing this tank top, you work one half of the strap, right? And then you bind off across the front, and then you work the other half of the strap. Well, I was definitely worried about maybe I'm going to get the bind off too tight. How am I going to do it? And also, she does no edging, right, on her pattern. There's no garter stitch. There's no nothing, which is fine by me. I struggle with pickup and knit. You know that I knit and crochet by feel. And for me, I struggled with the pick up and knit on a DK weight project just recently, the ruffle baby dress where I had to pick up and knit along the sleeves, right? That was a struggle for me to do in a DK. I knew for me to try to do a collar, to try to pick up and knit on a fingering weight yarn was going to be really, really challenging for me. So I definitely didn't want any kind of a collar thing where I had to pick up and knit. Now, I think it's fine to leave things with that very casual kind of rolled look that you get with stockinette when you don't do any kind of edging. But what I decided to experiment with is I have a video on my channel that's demoing how to crochet. I call it crow knitting. I don't know what it's called. How to crochet off of your knitting needles. I think some people just call it like a crochet bind off. That's what I did. I basically just did crochet. Now I did, because I do it tight, right? Again, I was on the US size 4 knitting needle, the 3.5 millimeter. I went up to the F crochet hook, or a 3.75 crochet hook, and went ahead and did my bind off with crochet, right, with a crochet chain. And I really liked that. It's I liked it better than me struggling to bind off and to get the right needle and how many stitches, so that I would get it too tight. So I'm really going to be doing more experimenting with that, on bumping up a crochet hook and using that for my bind off sometimes. I might end up really liking that a lot better for me as somebody who binds off tight. Okay. Well, I think that's about all that and because I did the extra pattern repeats, you can definitely tell, my armholes are a little bit bigger than what she had intended for the X small, which I think is fine. I don't want the armhole super tight. I want full range of motion, right? I want it loose and airy, as I said. Yeah, hot flashes are real for me, 47. So I'm liking the top overall. I think it's loose. I think it's drapey. I think it's very light and very comfortable for our hot summer days. I'm definitely really looking forward to being able to wear this top this summer. I'm happy with it. I'll say that. I'm happy with it. So, do I think it's worth $5.99? Yeah, I do, especially if you are wanting to branch out into garments and lace garments and you're not sure where to go. I bought this pattern several years ago, before my own knitting skills were where they're at today. Now, I've said I'm really trying to learn more about I'm still trying really hard to learn more about garment construction. Okay, I am. And I didn't really learn anything new about garment construction per se, beyond, experimenting with doing crochet bind off. But when I bought this was definitely still, kind of more new to me, right? Kind of figuring out how to do the 3 needle bind off. I've obviously have mastered that for this. Well, I wouldn't say mastered it, because obviously I still get it too tight, right? But I'd say I got it down pretty good. So But if you're new, where I was at when I purchased this pattern several years ago, I think it's great. Okay, if you're just like, I want to learn how to do a simple shaping and lace on a tank top, that kind of a thing, you'll get some basic shaping, some decreases, some lace work, learning how to divide the front and the back, and then either graft or do a 3 needle bind up with your strap. So yeah, I think, and plus the size range, the 10 size ranges. So if you're somebody who struggles to find patterns in your size and you're looking for size inclusive patterns, I call it size inclusive. I don't remember the upper age, or the upper size of the size range, but it was pretty big. Anyways, that's my thoughts on the pattern. Yeah, I like it. I'm looking forward to it. And let me know your thoughts. Let me know. Have you bought that pattern? Has it been sitting in your stash for years? Because this pattern and the yarn have been bagged up together in my stash literally for years, completely forgotten about. Okay, so let me know, is this in your stash? Yeah, are you thinking that you should dig it out of your stash and work it? Have you worked with the comfy fingering before in general? Do you like it? Do you like it for summer garments? Let me know your thoughts. The one thing I will say is that I am kind of glad, even though I bought this years ago, I'm really glad that I didn't work it earlier before I had the experience that I have now in knitting. And I say that because now I have the knowledge and the skills to modify and customize the pattern for my body. Because I'm kind of oddly shaped, right? I can do an X small in some places. I need a medium or a large in other places in my body, especially, I'll just say that, right? Like, I'm 120 pounds, but my 120 pounds could still be very different from your 120 pounds, right? You could have a lot of muscle, less bust, or you could have way more bust, smaller shoulders, flatter stomach. I mean, smaller thighs. My thighs are still definitely like the weightlifter that I was in the body or in the gym, right? So, pretty bulky still in places. So, just because I could say, oh, we both weigh 120 pounds, it doesn't mean that our bodies are the same at all. So I really hope that by sharing this pattern with you, sharing how I modified it, sharing how I customized it for my body, I can help you do that, right? If you're struggling to find knitting patterns to fit your body, I really want to encourage you to play with the sizes like I did and say, okay, this area of my body is a small and this area of my body is a large. How can I put the pieces of this pattern together and still make it work for me? Because that's definitely where I'm at with my knitting, is wanting to really customize things for me. Okay, so I hope I can help you if you're at that place and you're like, it's so hard for me to find patterns to fit me because I'm this way or I'm that way or whatever. Well, just do what you can to look at patterns and say, okay, how can I take pieces of the medium and pieces of the large and whatever and make it work for me? Because we're all different. You don't need to feel uncomfortable, because whatever about your size or your body or this particular part of your body is bigger or smaller. Like I said, I got some pretty big shoulders and arms for a woman of my size. So, I have just had to learn to modify, customize, and make things work for me. I really hope that this was helpful for anybody out there who's wanting to get in to, to garments, to lace, to customizing stuff. So anyways, that's the end of the Finish It Friday video. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what your weekend plans are, right? Let me know what's on your needles, what's on your hooks, or because it's Finish It Friday, what your latest FO is. I hope you're all staying cool. I hope you're all staying safe. We've had some crazy weather all over the country this year. My goodness. And yeah, let me know if you're going on a vacay. Let me know if you're going to the beach. Let me know if you're staying cool, because it's just hot here. Alrighty, and you know what I like to end with, that creativity is for everybody, whether you see or you see like me or you don't see at all. Creativity is for you. And whether it's knitting or crocheting or sewing or quilting or beading or sculpting or painting or carving or whatever it is that you do, today is a great day to craft and create. Thanks so much for listening. Happy stitching. Bye-bye for now.